my name is Barbara Dillon. I am the editor-in-chief of Fan-Based Press, and I'm very excited to be here today to moderate the panel Geekfest Filmmakers. We have some wonderfully talented folks up here to talk about the films that they have entered and displayed here at Long Beach Comic-Con during Geek Film Fest. So we're going to each introduce each one of them. We're going to give them each an opportunity to discuss the premise of their film, their experiences and creative influences, and of course tell you where you can find out more information about each of their films.
Steven Spielberg and the Return to Film School is a comedy based on the true story of when Spielberg returned to college after 30 years and got his degree in 2002.
So obviously you have created these films, you have a passion for filmmaking, you have a voice and a story that you want to tell, so we want to give the audience an opportunity to hear what your influences were, what inspired you to create this film in the first place. So please feel free to expound on what your inspirations were. Joshua, we'll start at your end this time. Do you want to tell us what inspired you to create your film, and who some of your creative influences are, whether they be filmmakers from the past or current filmmakers?
Well, Steven Spielberg and the Return to Film School, an insanely long title. It's based a parody of, like, Indiana Jones and the Temple of all those Indiana Jones titles. Was inspired by my time at Cal State Long Beach. I graduated from the film department there, and there was all there's these pictures and all these stories about, oh, what was it like when he came back to finish his degree? What was that about? And I kind of felt like we obviously had our fun with it. Of course, there's some points that we have for comedic effect. But I think that just paying homage to this great director that kind of is our big hero on campus was the goal, and trying to see if there was a story in there.
A lot of times with filmmakers, especially with independent filmmakers, they take on quite a few roles within the creative process. So would you mind sharing the roles that you took on, whether it be screenwriter, director, producer,
yes.
Hearing service master?
Yes.
How many different tasks did you take on, and how do you feel that balancing those tasks affected or improved your creative experience?
Well, I think there's kind of two sides to this. Of course, it's incredible with the digital revolution that I saw going through college, all the advancements in technology that have allowed you pretty much to take over every job. I feel like every single thing I've ever learned is at some point come into play making these films. And at the same time, you really have to surround yourself with people that you really trust. I think of it as 1 in 100. There's a 1 in 100 people who will do what they say they're going to do, who you can count on, who you can really creatively collaborate with. And so, on one hand, you do need to be willing to do what everybody else won't do, which is just to get your hands dirty and just take care of everything. And at the same time, if you can surround yourself with that core team of people who are taking pieces of the puzzle away, the costume designers taking the costumes away, the producers are taking paperwork and locations away. If you can, make that team around you, that's the real goal, I think.
And a big part of the process is a lot of times, and some of you have mentioned this already, the financial aspect and also the time aspect. Sometimes, especially on a limited budget, you don't have a location to film for very long. So for each of you, can you talk about how your timeline worked, how much time you had, and how much time in general it took to produce and create your film from start to finish?
Well, the Spielberg film, I had been thinking about doing a piece about Spielberg 3 years prior to actually shooting it, and then started writing about 2 years in advance. So it just took a long time to kind of dig the story out, because all of it's fictional, except based on that kernel of truth that Spielberg did return to college and take some classes. So the actual shooting of it took place over 5 days. Luckily, we had a campus where we just running all over the campus, shooting everything. We had over 30 locations in the film, and then post-production took a couple more months. And I think the thing that I learned from seeing so many, other students at the time and still currently is, you really have to have that deadline. You have to set those deadlines, because it will never get done if you don't. And I think that's the most important thing is not just being fixated on any one thing, because you can only learn if you actually get in front of audiences. And so, yeah, thanks for checking them out. Really, that's the end goal. If you can't get in front of the screen, you probably shouldn't be wasting everybody's time.
As these creators know, since they do so many different roles behind the scenes, all of the individuals on the crew side put in tons of hours, hard work, blood, sweat, and tears to make the production possible. But of course, another vital aspect of the filmmaking process is the cast. So what can you tell us about those individuals in front of the camera? What was your casting process like, especially for independent filmmakers?
For our casting, we would go up to LA to do multiple sessions. We hold auditions, and it was really fun. We had different ages. We had to get a couple of lookalikes in there. But the crux of the film, of course, was could we find somebody who could play Steven Spielberg? That was the whole. I knew there's no way this film is happening without a great Steven Spielberg. And actually, he's right there, Robert W. Lauer. He's in the back there. So hope you say hello to him, because he really, honestly, that film would not be, it just wouldn't have been made without him. And the other thing with casting too is you really just look for the people that you want to work with who are nice, who aren't gonna have an ego or something like that. And that's absolutely critical, because that relationship with the talent and the performers and the director and the crew, for that matter, just keeping that momentum going on set is pivotal, keeping the morale high.
Once you have your cast in place, especially for independent filmmakers, as we were talking about earlier, these guys juggle a lot of roles while the production process is going on. So for you as directors, what was the challenging aspect of actively directing your actors while the production was going on, while balancing?
Well, I definitely agree wholeheartedly with pre-production. You really want to plan every aspect out in as much detail as you can. Work with each individual, so that way there's really supposed to be this hierarchy on set. And the Spielberg film is already 4 years old here, actually, and so I've had a chance to do a couple other projects since then. And as we've grown with our team, and as artists, is you really have to have the hierarchy. Like, for example, you plan out those shot lists, so that way when you're on set, you're not even touching the camera. We've already had that discussion. It's pretty much just, okay, let the camera team do their job, and if there have to be adjustments, that discussion we had. Because really, for me, the performance, the credibility of the performances is paramount. The second that the performances lose believability, it's gone. It doesn't matter how beautiful it is. It doesn't matter how well you dress the set. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters except for that performance. So as much as you can do to take everything away and leave yourself with just the actors, but it just takes, I think, multiple experiences to figure out how to just get rid of all the stress. Just forget. Don't get emotionally attached to it. Just execute. Once you have it all figured out, you just go in. You just do exactly what you said you were going to do. So.
Robert broached a good point about indie filmmaking, that there are unanticipated fires on every production, and by that I do not mean literal fires. Perhaps sometimes there may be literal fires, but there are always unintended things that will pop up that need to be dealt with the day of, a moment before you start filming. What was the most unexpected thing that happened on your filmmaking for this project?
Well, we had the good fortune of not having any major disasters happen on that film. But I don't think I've really ever told this story, but I feel like the biggest potential fire we could have had was me. Because 4 years ago, you got 50 people on set that first day we shot, and it was just so many people. I wasn't prepared for that amount of pressure, that amount of stress. And I thought I did okay, and I go home that night and my DP said, dude, you were stressing everybody out, and if you do that again, people are gonna walk off set. And I was, just shocked, because you're not paying attention to how you look. You're just trying to get the job done. So anyway, the next morning I was able to go in and I had a big meeting, and you make that right. When those types of things happen, the first thing I did was I sat everyone down. I said, look, I really want to apologize for any, behavior from the day before, and hopefully I was able to improve. But for me, I feel like whether it's a person or whether it's maybe sometimes there's internal problems, you want to address those. You want to get those out of the way. Sometimes it's stuff that you're not even aware that's happening. So probably the biggest thing you can do is dress yourself and make sure you're ready. And just learn, I think.
I think that's excellent advice. And obviously there's a lot that goes into this process, from the filming itself, all the production, the post-production, marketing the film, and getting it out to film festivals like this one. So let's move on to the actual film festival process. What was your experience and how did you find Geek Film Fest? And what was your experience at the film festival?
Well, you know, I think what is really, I'm sure we've all had the benefit of this, is the power of social media. Because for us, we've really used our marketing and social media power to build our teams, to crowdfund on Kickstarter. Pretty much almost every function of this entire process, I feel like has benefited from crowdsourcing. Like, we just produced a film this year, and we just basically had a Facebook group with the core team in it, and we just constantly are using, just in real time, just all day long, just having in-depth conversations about, okay, what color should this be, or does this costume look good, or what do you think of these, here's some videos, here's some pictures of the location. And then in terms of the marketing aspect of it, it all comes together. Every single person who worked on your film, that's your marketing strategy when you have no money, when you don't want to be sued by large corporations, as aforementioned. And then in terms of just real quick, is you got to have that image. Honestly, your movie pictures probably will be seen more than the actual movie. So get a good image, and I'm a geek and a nerd, so I made a whole bunch of Blu-rays and DVDs and CDs, which are available for purchase. So you should come see afterward. But it's just, you know what? Just have a good time with it. I think if people see that, they'll want to follow. And if you're interested in doing it, definitely call up all of us online, because you kind of see the process. You can see it's limitless. People can have that platform for free now. It's incredible.
Yes, sir.
When looking for actors, what is the key, most important factor?
Well, I don't know exactly what casting pool you're using. I know I've certainly had to learn through experience over the years, but I would encourage you not to just pull from your friends. I know it's tempting. I know that's the easy choice. If you can go, I don't know where you're pulling the people from, either a theater department, or you can get up to LA to try to hold some casting sessions. There's even certain services that are completely free to use. If you can get up there, it's really important to really work with people who've had some experience, for sure. In terms of when you actually get into that audition room, I would agree in the sense that you're looking for an actor who's made those choices, who's had a chance to either look at your side or has experience, because they're going to do 90% of the work. If they're great performers, your movie's going to already be, the bar's going to be pretty high. But at the same time, when you're giving them notes, or if you want to have them do stuff in their audition, I call it just they get one chance to make a new choice. So you say maybe the performance was sad, and now you're saying, okay, let's do it where you're furious, and where you're really, and you see what they do with that. If they're willing to take that note, then they have range. The last thing you want to do is cast somebody who can do the one thing and they can't do anything else. So that's what I like to do, is try to see what's the range of the performance. And if they're not total jerks, that will be evil and not show up.
When you guys are looking for locations, and you find that location, and then you find out that you have to pay for licensing, or just to pay to be at the locations, do you guys ditch it, or do you just go find another location, or do you just give up and pay when you are going to go past your budget?
Honestly, you'd be surprised how many people will let you shoot. Play the I'm young, I'm a student, we're a really small crew card. Get those, or I'm an independent, we're really small, and keep it, and more importantly is, you'd be surprised how many people pull you favors. We have had to pay for, if you really want a location, it's possible to pay for it. We've dropped other locations because we're it's just not worth it. Put the money into the acting, put the money into the crew, the food, for sure. Put the money where you think it's going to get the most out of the performance. But the location, try to find, I think for low budget, you have to find locations that are pre-dressed. You just can't afford to dress whole locations. Social media, ask who out there has a this or a that, and really just treat the location with respect. That's the #1 goal. It doesn't matter about the film. That's important, but treat those locations with the utmost respect. Only bring people that you trust, pretty much.
Again, excellent question. Thank you. Sadly, that is all the time that we have for today, but as I mentioned, I do want to give an opportunity. We'll start with you, Kevin. If you wouldn't mind reminding people the name of your film, where they can find you online and on social media.
Well, you can follow us online. Our little production company is called Film Visionary. That's youtube.com/Film Visionary, facebook.com/Film Visionary, Twitter, Instagram, etc. I'm Joshua D. Ho, so Joshua, the letter D, H-O-H. So I hope you get a chance to follow us because we actually just shot a brand new piece just literally 2 weeks ago. It's called Ash's Homecoming. It's a dramatic piece about the characters from Pokemon when they're grown up. And I think it's going to be, I think we did pretty good. I hope. Well, we probably should make the film first. But yeah, it's going to be coming out hopefully next year. So please go online and follow us or get one of these cards, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
So I want to say thank you to all of our panelists, Kevin, Terry, Robert, Danny, and Joshua. Thank you so much to all of you. Again, my name is Barbara Dillon. I'm from Fanbase Press. If in the last half hour of the show you were not here, we are on the convention floor in Arts Alley at table A15. But thank you to all of you for joining us.
And one last big round of applause for Bill Ostrov, right here. This is the dude.